The most dangerous part of a traffic stop is not the ticket. It is the first 10 seconds after the officer reaches your door. Pause. And if you say the wrong thing, when that window comes down, a simple stop can turn into a search, a gun investigation, or even criminal charges. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed? Because what I'm about to reveal could save you from a terrible mistake on the side of the road. Hit that button right now. Picture this. It's late. You're driving home. Maybe you have a legal firearm in the car. Maybe you have a carry permit. Maybe you did nothing worse than roll a stop sign or forget a turn signal. Then the lights hit. Your heart starts pounding. The officer walks up and says, "Roll the window down." Most people think this is the moment to make a big stand. They want to argue through the glass. They want to crack the window 1 inch and start quoting the Constitution. And that is exactly where people mess this up. Here's what most people get wrong. The goal is not to win a roadside debate. The goal is to get through the stop safely, protect your rights, and avoid giving police extra reasons to dig deeper. That is a huge difference. And when I found out how many people ruin their own case in the first few seconds, I couldn't believe it. Because the internet keeps teaching a fake version of courage. Real courage is staying calm when your emotions want to take over. So let me break this down for you. When an officer says, "Roll the window down," do not turn that into a power contest. In many places, the smarter move is simple. Roll it down enough to communicate clearly and hand over your license, registration, and proof of insurance if required. Keep your hands where they can be seen. Stay polite. Stay boring. And do not start explaining your whole life story. Now this is where it gets interesting. The 4 words that matter most are not some magic spell you yell through the glass like you're in a movie. The 4 words are for the moment the stop starts turning into a search. Those 4 words are, "I do not consent." That's it. 4 simple words. Not loud, not angry, not sarcastic, just clear. I do not consent. But wait, there's something even more important. You have to know when to use those words and when not to act like a roadside lawyer. Here's what just happened in a lot of real traffic stops. A driver gets pulled over. The officer wants the window fully down. The driver refuses. The officer says he can't see inside well. He says he's worried about safety. Tension rises. Voices get sharper. The stop gets worse. Suddenly, what could have been a warning becomes a long, ugly encounter. That is why smart drivers do not build their whole strategy around the glass. Most people think the window is the main battle. The truth is, the window is usually just the setup. The real battle is over access, consent, and your own mouth. First thing, understand the mission of a normal traffic stop. The officer is dealing with the traffic issue, checking your identity, and handling basic safety concerns. That's why you should have your hands visible and avoid fast movements. If it is dark, turning on the inside light can help keep things calm. If you are reaching for documents, say what you're doing before you move. My registration is in the glove box. Short, simple, calm. Second, do not volunteer extra information. This is the part that shocks a lot of people. People will say things like, "Officer, I'm sorry, I'm just tired." Or, "I'm coming from my buddy's house." Or even worse, "I do have a gun, but it's legal and I wasn't doing anything." Maybe that helps, maybe it hurts. You do not know, and once the words leave your mouth, you cannot take them back. If you are a gun owner, this matters even more. Have you ever wondered why a simple question feels so dangerous during a stop? It's because one answer can open 5 more questions. Where's the gun? Is it loaded? Do you have a permit? Why are you carrying tonight? Any other weapons in the vehicle? Even if you are totally legal, you may talk yourself into a bigger mess. Now, some states require disclosure if you are carrying. Some do not. That means your first homework is not to memorize tough guy lines. It is to know your own state's carry and disclosure rules before you drive. Here's a hypothetical example to explain this. Imagine you are lawfully carrying on your right hip. You get stopped for speeding. The officer asks for license and registration. If your state requires disclosure, you disclose calmly and briefly. If your state does not require disclosure, you do not start volunteering details unless needed. In either case, your tone matters, your hands matter, your movements matter, and your silence matters more than most people realize. If you're finding this helpful, imagine what you'll learn in my next video about the 5 words that protect you when cops ask about your gun. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Now, let me show you where the law gets very real. A lot of people think they can simply refuse any order during a stop. That is not true. And if you believe that, you are setting yourself up for a bad night. Here's the part nobody's talking about. If an officer lawfully stops your car and tells you to step out, arguing is usually a losing move. Courts have long allowed officers to order drivers out of a lawfully stopped vehicle, and passengers can be ordered out too. So if the officer says, "Step out of the car," do not make the mistake of planting yourself in the seat and trying to stage a one-person protest. That is how a traffic stop turns physical fast. Let me say that again because it is critical. Don't make this mistake. If the officer tells you to get out, get out. Calmly, slowly, without speeches. Most people think stepping out means they just gave up all their rights. But the truth is more complicated. Sometimes stepping out the right way protects you better than staying in. Why? Because once you are outside, you can stop helping the officer gain easy access to your vehicle. That is where smart behavior beats ego. So here is the play. If you are ordered out, comply. Close the door behind you. If lawful and safe to do so, and if you are not disobeying a direct order, keep the vehicle secured. Then stand where told. Keep your hands visible. And if the officer starts asking for permission to look inside, that is when the 4 words matter. I do not consent. That line is powerful because it is simple. It does not start a fight. It does not insult the officer. It does not create confusion. It just makes your position clear. If the officer already has legal grounds to search, your words may not stop that search in the moment. But if the officer is fishing for permission, those 4 words shut down the easy path. And this is where people sabotage themselves. The officer says, "You don't mind if I take a quick look, right?" Or, "If you have nothing to hide, we can clear this up fast." Or, "Just let me check and you'll be on your way." That sounds casual. That sounds harmless. But this is the trap. Consent turns your rights into a gift you handed away for free. Now, quick legal note. This is educational information, not legal advice. Always consult an attorney for your specific situation. Let me break down a very common gun owner scenario. You have a pistol in the center console. You're illegal. The officer smells nothing, sees nothing, has no clear reason to search. Then he asks, "Any weapons in the car?" If your state requires disclosure, follow that rule calmly. If your state does not require it, you still should not lie. But you also should not ramble. And if the conversation shifts toward, "Mind if I take a look?" that is your moment. I do not consent. Notice what I did not say. I did not say, "Be rude." I did not say, "Resist." I did not say, "Argue law on the shoulder of the highway." I said, "Be clear." There's a huge difference. Hey, 73% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. Don't be part of that group. Join the gun owners and drivers who get these updates first. Click subscribe. Now, this is where it gets even more important. Silence and consent are 2 different things. A lot of people think staying quiet is enough. Sometimes it is not. If an officer asks for consent to search and you just shrug, mumble, or freeze, that can create a messy argument later. Clear words are better. I do not consent. But here's the crazy part. Even after you say that, you still have to stay calm. Because if you say, "I do not consent," and you're a tyrant, and I know my rights, and my cousin is suing your department, you just ruined your own advantage. The best response is short. Then stop talking. Here's what most people get wrong about traffic stops and guns. They think the officer is only watching for crime. No, the officer is also watching behavior. Nervous movements, sudden reaching, angry tone, contradictions, over-explaining. All of that can make a routine stop feel more dangerous and more suspicious. So if you carry, your job is to look like the safest, calmest person the officer will meet all night. Let's use another hypothetical example. Imagine you are pulled over with your spouse in the passenger seat. There's a lawfully owned rifle in a locked case in the back. The officer asks, "Where are you coming from?" Your spouse jumps in with a long answer. You add a different answer. Now the officer thinks something is off. Then he asks if there are weapons. You both start explaining at once. This is how legal people create illegal-looking situations. One speaker. Short answers, no extra details. Another warning. Never physically block a search. If the officer searches anyway, do not grab, push, or interfere. Say, "I do not consent," and let the record be the record. Fight it in court, not on asphalt. And remember this too. A traffic stop cannot last forever just because an officer is curious. The stop is supposed to stay tied to the traffic issue and ordinary safety steps. That does not mean you get to announce, "This stop is over." It means the law puts limits on how long a stop can be stretched without a real reason. So your job is not to force the ending. Your job is to avoid giving the officer new reasons to keep digging. Now let me give you the clean roadside script. First, pull over safely and quickly. Second, keep your hands visible. Third, speak respectfully. Fourth, provide required documents. Fifth, do not volunteer extra facts. Sixth, if ordered out, comply. Seventh, if asked for consent to search, say the 4 words, "I do not consent." Eighth, after that, stop talking. That is the playbook. Not dramatic, not flashy, but effective. And here's the part that shocked me when I first started seeing these cases. The people who talk the most are often the people with the weakest cases later. They think they are helping themselves. They think they are clearing things up. But all they are doing is building evidence with their own mouth. A lawful gun owner can still end up charged. A bad search can still happen. A misunderstanding can still spiral. That is why your calm matters so much. So, if you only remember one thing from this video, remember this. Do not turn the window into your hill to die on. The smarter move is controlled compliance, followed by a clear refusal to consent to a search. That keeps you safer. that protects your rights better, and that gives your lawyer something useful later. Laws change fast, and one new ruling or state law can flip the script before most people even hear about it. Subscribe now so you're never caught off guard when the next major update drops. Let's wrap this up. When cops say, roll the window down, the smart answer is not a speech, not an argument, and not fake internet bravado. Stay calm, comply with basic lawful commands, and when the stop starts moving toward a search, use the 4 words that matter most. I do not consent. Pause. That simple line will not make you immune from trouble, but it can stop you from handing your rights away for free. If this video helped you think more clearly about traffic stops and firearms, subscribe right now and share this with one person who carries and needs to hear it before their next drive. And final simple disclaimer, this is general educational information. Laws are different in different states, and small facts change everything. Talk to a qualified local attorney about your own situation before relying on any roadside strategy.